Hello, everyone. My name is Marina Hale. I'm 35 years old, and I have always been careful about how I handle serious situations, especially when it comes to people I care about. I am not the kind of woman who hears the word crisis and starts calculating whether it is inconvenient. If someone I love says they are hurting, my first instinct is to show up. Maybe that was why I did not recognize the lie immediately. At first, it did not feel like suspicion. It felt like fear with my name attached to it. My boyfriend Elliot and I had been together for a little over a year. From the outside, we probably looked serious. We spent weekends together, knew each other's families, had keys to each other's apartments, and had already crossed that quiet line where people stop asking if you are dating and start asking when you are getting engaged. But inside the relationship, things were not as steady as they looked. Elliot had a way of making every disagreement feel like proof I did not love him enough. If I needed time, he called it distance. If I asked for space, he called it rejection. If I said I wanted to move carefully, he said I was making him beg for certainty. Commitment had become the argument we kept circling. He wanted everything faster, a ring, a timeline, a promise that sounded permanent enough to calm whatever fear lived inside him. I was not against commitment. I loved him. I had imagined a future with him more than once, but I needed that future to feel stable, not forced. And every time I said that, Elliot looked at me like I had failed some test I had not known I was taking. The message came late in the evening. I was at home, still in work clothes, standing in my kitchen with a glass of water I had barely touched, when my phone lit up. I'm at the hospital after a mental health breakdown because you won't commit. This is on you. For a second, I just stared at the screen. Then everything inside me dropped. Not because of the accusation, not at first, because of the word hospital. Because when someone sends a message like that, you do not sit there protecting your pride. You move. I grabbed my keys so fast I left the glass on the counter. I do not even remember locking the door. I only remember the cold feeling in my hands as I got into the car and tried to call him. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. The drive felt longer than it was. My mind kept jumping between fear and guilt. I replayed our last conversation, wondering if I had missed something, wondering if my refusal to rush had pushed him somewhere dark. I hated that the thought even entered my head, but once it did, it dug in. I kept telling myself, just get there, just find him. Everything else can wait. When I reached the hospital, the lobby looked painfully normal. People sat in plastic chairs. A child leaned against his mother's shoulder. A security guard stood near the entrance. Nothing about the place matched the panic Elliot's message had created in me. I went straight to the front desk. I'm looking for Elliot Grant, I said. He may have come in recently, emergency or psychiatric intake. The receptionist typed his name. Then she paused. That pause was the first crack. She looked back up at me. I'm sorry. There's no record of anyone by that name here. I blinked. That can't be right. Can you check again? Elliot Grant, 36. He texted me that he was here. She typed again, slower this time. I gave his full name, his date of birth, anything I thought might help. Still nothing. No record, she said gently. For a moment, I did not move. My fear did not disappear. It folded into something colder, something I did not want to name yet. Because if Elliot was not at the hospital, then where was he? And why had he told me he was? I stepped away from the desk and looked down at my phone. His message was still there, glowing on the screen like evidence I did not want to understand. Then I remembered something. Months earlier, Elliot and I had shared our locations. It had been casual, almost silly at the time. For convenience, he said. Safety, he said. I had not checked it in ages. But standing in that hospital lobby with no record of him anywhere, I opened it. The map loaded, and my stomach went still. Elliot was not at the hospital. He was across town, at a resort. For a few seconds, I stared at the screen. The little blue dot that represented him wasn't flickering or jumping the way it sometimes does when signal is weak. It was steady, exact, merciless, a resort. Not just any place either. I recognized the name immediately. It was one of those quiet, high-end resorts people went to when they wanted privacy. Not emergencies, not breakdowns, not anything that required a waiting room and a hospital wristband. For a moment, I tried to make it make sense. Maybe it hadn't updated. Maybe he had been there earlier. Maybe he went to the hospital after. But even as those thoughts formed, they started falling apart. The timestamp was current. The location was live. And once you see something that clearly, You don't get to pretend it is something else. I read his message again. I'm at the hospital after a mental health breakdown. This is on you. The words had not changed, but now they felt colder, because it wasn't just about where he wasn't. It was about what he chose to say instead. I walked out of the hospital, and the night air hit me sharp across the face. I sat in my car without starting the engine, hands resting on the wheel, trying to place every fact in order. Hospital, no record. Location, resort. Those were not small inconsistencies. They were contradictions. And contradictions do not fix themselves. You have to follow them. There was a version of me that could have driven straight there alone. Show up, see it, handle it. But this was not just a relationship argument anymore. He had used words that should never be used carelessly. If there was even a small chance any part of his message was real, his family deserved to know. So I called his parents. His father answered. Marina, is everything okay? I'm not sure, I said, keeping my voice even. Elliot texted me saying he was at the hospital after a mental health breakdown. I just got there, but there's no record of him. There was a pause. That doesn't make sense, his father said. I know. I did not add assumptions. I did not accuse. I let the facts sit there because they were already heavy enough. He spoke again, more serious now. Where are you? In the parking lot, I said, but his location is showing somewhere else. Another pause. Where? A resort. Across town. The silence after that said more than anything else could have. Then he said, We're coming. We'll meet you there. Before I left, I did one more thing. I ordered roses. Not to make a scene, not to be dramatic, but because if Elliot had actually been lying in a hospital bed, scared and broken, that is what I would have brought. And some part of me needed to carry that truth with me, the truth that I had believed him, that I had come with care before I came with questions. The drive to the resort felt different from the drive to the hospital. There was no panic now, only a slow pressure building under my ribs. I was not imagining 100 outcomes anymore. I already knew the one that made the most sense. I just had not seen it yet. By the time the resort came into view, I did not feel nervous. I felt braced. Whatever I was about to see, I knew it would not be something I could unsee. The resort was exactly what I expected. Quiet, polished, almost too perfect. Soft lights lined the entrance. A fountain moved in slow arcs at the center of the driveway. People walked in and out, dressed for dinners and weekend getaways. Not emergencies. Nothing about it matched the message Elliot had sent me. I pulled into the parking lot and turned off the engine. A pair of headlights swept across my windshield. Elliot's parents parked a few spaces away, and we stepped out at the same time. His mother's face was tight, controlled, like she was holding something back. His father looked calm, but not reassured, more like someone who had already started putting pieces together and hated the picture forming. You saw the location? He asked. I nodded. And the hospital? No record. His mother looked toward the resort entrance and whispered, That's not... She did not finish. None of us needed her to. We walked in together. The lobby was elegant and completely detached from the situation we carried into it. A couple checked in at the front desk. Someone laughed softly near the seating area. A staff member passed by with a polite smile that made the whole thing feel even more unreal. I approached the desk. Hi, I said. I'm looking for Elliot Grant. He should be staying here. The receptionist checked without hesitation. Yes, she said. He's currently checked in. That was it. Confirmation. No confusion, no delay, just a simple answer that erased the last small corner of doubt I had been protecting. Can you tell me where he is? She hesitated slightly, then said, He's in the lounge area by the terrace. I nodded. Thank you. We walked toward the lounge without discussing what we expected to find. The hallway opened into a wide space with glass walls overlooking a dim garden. Soft music played low enough that conversations blended into a warm hum. And then I saw him. Elliot, sitting comfortably at a table near the terrace, laughing. Not strained, not fragile, not like someone recovering from anything. Across from him sat Vanessa. I did not know her personally, but I knew enough. Her name had come up before, lightly and conveniently. Someone from before, he had said once, as if saying less made it harmless. It did not look harmless now. They were close enough that his body language answered questions before I could ask them. The way he leaned toward her, the way his attention stayed fixed on her, the way nothing about him suggested he had been anywhere near a hospital that night. We stopped a few steps away. He looked up. The smile disappeared first, then the color in his face, then the confidence. It was not confusion, it was recognition, immediate, sharp. He looked from me to his parents and back again, and in that split second I saw it. He knew exactly why we were there. No one spoke. The music kept playing. Glasses clinked somewhere behind us. But inside that small space around his table, everything had tightened. I became aware of the roses in my hand. They felt heavier now, almost absurd. Vanessa followed his gaze and turned. Her expression shifted too, but more slowly. She did not understand yet. Elliot stood too quickly, his chair scraping against the floor. Marina. Then he stopped, because there was no version of that sentence that could save him. His mother took a small step forward. You told her you were in the hospital, she said. Her voice was not loud, but it carried. Vanessa looked between us. What's going on? Elliot did not answer her. He was looking at me like he was trying to measure how much I knew, but I already knew enough. For a moment, no one moved. Then Elliot ran a hand through his hair, suddenly restless. This isn't what it looks like, he said. The sentence came out too quickly, like he needed it to land before reality did, but it didn't. Vanessa looked at him. What are you talking about? His father stepped forward. You told Marina you were in the hospital, he repeated. Elliot exhaled sharply. I didn't mean... You didn't mean what? His mother cut in. You didn't mean to lie, or you didn't mean for her to find out? That landed. I just needed space, Elliot said quickly. Things were getting intense. I didn't know how to handle it, and I... So you told her you had a mental breakdown, his father asked. No raised voice, no anger. Just a question that left him nowhere to hide. Vanessa's confusion began to harden into understanding. You said you were dealing with something serious, she said to him. You didn't say anything about this. Her eyes moved to me, then to his parents. This isn't what you told me. There it was. The second layer, not one lie, multiple. Elliot turned toward her. Vanessa, I can explain. Then explain, she said. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Because now he was not choosing what to say. He was choosing which version of the truth to admit to first. I didn't know how to deal with the pressure, he said finally, looking back at me. You kept pulling away, and I thought if you understood how serious it felt for me, I did not react. Because what he was saying was not new. He had always made my boundaries sound like something happening to him. But this was different. This was not emotion spilling over. This was construction. A situation built to force me into the role he wanted. You told me you were in a hospital, I said. He nodded quickly. I know, that you had a breakdown. He swallowed. I didn't think you'd come that fast. The words slipped out before he could stop them, and everything stopped again. Vanessa stared at him. You didn't think she'd come? She repeated. Elliot froze, because there it was. Not a confession, but close enough. This was not about a mistake. It was about control. About creating fear strong enough that I would react before I questioned anything. Something settled inside me then. Not rage, not even shock. Something quieter and more final. I stepped forward, not toward him, but toward the table. The roses were still in my hand. I set them down gently. They were for the hospital, I said. That was all. No raised voice, no speech, no scene. And somehow that landed harder than anything else because it carried the whole night inside it. The fear, the care, the version of me that had rushed across town believing him. No one spoke. Vanessa looked at the roses, then back at Elliot. His mother turned slightly away. His father exhaled, and Elliot just stood there, looking at the space between us like he was trying to understand how it had gotten so wide. But the truth was, it had not happened quickly. It had been building. He just had not realized I could see it. Vanessa was the first to step back. You told me you were done with her, she said. Her voice was steady now, no confusion left. Elliot turned toward her. No, she cut in. Don't do that. Another step back. You don't bring parents into something casual, she said, and you don't fake a hospital to cover it. That landed differently because it was not coming from me or his family. It was coming from someone who had just realized she had been standing inside the same lie from a different angle. Elliot's composure cracked. I didn't plan it like this, he said. It just got out of control. It didn't get out of control, his father said quietly. You built it. Vanessa let out a slow breath. I'm not staying for this. She turned and walked away. No hesitation, no looking back. His mother spoke next. We're leaving too. Her voice was controlled, but there was something final underneath it. His father gave a small nod. Neither of them looked at Elliot again. They walked past me quietly. For a second, his mother's hand brushed lightly against my arm. Not a hug, not comfort exactly, just acknowledgement. Then they were gone, and suddenly it was just the two of us. Elliot looked at me like the room had emptied too quickly. Marina. My name came out slower this time, careful, like he was trying to find a version of it that still worked. I did not step closer. I did not soften. He swallowed. I messed up. Simple, stripped down, but not enough. I didn't think it would go this far, he added. I just wanted you to understand how serious I was, how much I needed. I shook my head once. You didn't need anything, I said. You created something. He froze. I kept my voice even, because anger would have given him something to argue with. You didn't just lie about where you were. You chose a hospital. You chose a breakdown. You chose something serious enough that I wouldn't question it. His eyes dropped. I wasn't thinking clearly, he said. That almost sounded like the truth, but not quite. Exactly, I said. That's what makes it worse. He looked at me then, and for the first time that night, he seemed afraid. I didn't want to lose you, he said. And there it was, the line that usually worked, the one that turned intention into fear and made damage sound like love. I let the moment pass through me without taking it in. You already did, I said. No emphasis, no edge, just fact. I can fix this, he said quickly. We can talk about it. I'll explain everything. I'll make it right. You can't. Because this was not something more talking could repair. Some things break because of what happened. Others break because they reveal what had been there all along. You don't fix something like this by explaining it, I said. You fix it by never creating it in the first place. That was the moment he understood enough. Not everything, but enough to know whatever version of control he had relied on before was gone. I looked at him one last time. There was nothing left to ask, nothing left to wait for. So I turned and walked away. Not quickly, not slowly, just done. A few weeks passed. No dramatic fallout, no long conversations trying to process what happened, no late-night messages asking for another chance in a way that sounded real. There were a few careful texts at the beginning. I've been thinking. I didn't handle things right. We should talk. I did not respond. Not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to clarify. The situation had already explained itself in the clearest way possible. At first I thought what would stay with me was the resort, the table, the roses, the look on Elliot's face when he saw us. But it wasn't. It was the message. I'm at the hospital after a mental health breakdown. This is on you. I read it again a few days later, not out of habit, but because distance changes how things feel. I wanted to know if it would still scare me. It didn't. Now it looked constructed, designed, built to trigger guilt before reason could speak. That was when I understood the relationship had not ended because Elliot was at a resort with Vanessa. It ended the moment I saw the intention behind the message. The moment I realized it was never just about where he was. It was about what he needed me to believe, and why. I thought back to the smaller moments before that night, the pressure, the accusations, the way he framed my hesitation as something I was doing to him. At the time, I had called them emotional differences, different pacing, different needs. But from a distance, they looked less like misunderstandings and more like a pattern. A few weeks later, I ran into one of Elliot's friends. I heard things didn't end well, he said carefully. I nodded once. That's one way to put it. He shifted. He said it got complicated. I almost smiled, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. It wasn't complicated, I said. I did not elaborate. I did not correct whatever version Elliot had told. The truth was not something I needed to defend. It was something I had already walked away from. That night at the resort did not leave me with questions. It left me with a line between what is real and what is created to control how you respond. And once you see that line clearly, you do not cross back over it, no matter who is standing on the other side.